I mean, honestly, Westside Gunn is a one of one. Like, this is really me. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just really me. Like, I always been fly. I always talk. I always wore gold. I don't even drink liquor. I drink expensive champagne. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't wear the same underclothes twice. You know what I mean? Like, that's me.
When you think of the early 2010s underground rap scene, what comes to mind? Lil B and Clams Casino initiating the cloud rap wave, the dark and wavy atmosphere of the Raider Clan, or even the edgy emo bass-driven sound of the Suicide Boys. All artists that are countercultural in nature with a heavy southern trap influence, whilst also being very psychedelic and punk-driven. But on the other side of the spectrum, there was still an appeal for 90s lyrical hip-hop that fans all know and love, and luckily for them, there was a small group of artists at the time pushing the sound but with a slight twist. And those artists consisted of Roy Marciano, Conway the Machine, and the most well-known artist from that era today, Westside Gunn. From all the way back in 2012 up until today, Gunn has enlightened his fans with a plethora of mixtapes and albums consisting of a unique approach to boom bap, coining the term neo boom bap, mafioso rap, boutique rap, or simply just put it as the Griselda sound, which most listeners would be familiar with, being how unique and culturally significant the collective has been. So today we're diving into Gunn's music and how he's been able to infiltrate the rap game with such flamboyance that could only be achieved by the one and only Flygod. Off the rip, Gunn's music is restricted for soul hip-hop purists and for those truly passionate about the culture, as his rap style isn't trendy, nor does it appeal to casuals in 2025, as he's lyrical, off-kilter, and very abstract. In fact, his sound's so distinct that it's low-key difficult to pinpoint his rap influences. But I think it would most likely be a plethora of 90s East Coast rappers such as Ghostface Killah, Mobb Deep, Nas, etc. And notably, his peculiar flow patterns and mystique has strong ties to MF Doom. And subject matter-wise, Gunn shares the similarities about surviving the streets and reaping the benefits of making it out of that lifestyle, but when Gunn boasts about his successes, it's unlike any other rapper you've ever heard do so in the past. He's unconventionally braggadocious throughout his bars, telling cold stories about the street life but with a lively spirit, and not failing to address how fly he was during those tough times, a true testament to his rugged and self-assured personality.
You know, me talking my shit, because I talk shit all day, and I'm like Joe Pesci and Goodfellas, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the bad guy that always just talks shit to everybody, you know what I'm saying?
And so his multi-potentiality, coupled with unequivocally being himself on tracks, has formed Gunn's unique rap style and thematic choices, heavily speaking on his love for high fashion, wrestling, being bougie, and so on. But rarely you ever hear Gunn spend an entire verse talking about one theme, as he frequently switches topics line by line, but then also makes a conscious effort to revisit those talking points at later points throughout the verse. The track Rey Mysterio off of Alchemist's Bread featuring Gunn and Conway is a great example of this, as the song is very street and gritty in nature, but while Conway has a standard gangster rap flow with vivid imagery of the street life, Gunn has a spaced out flow, treating every bar as a punchline with his signature ad-libs filling in the gaps. And thus, by making small changes to his tempo, Gunn's able to change the whole vibe of a track while still ticking off the standard tropes of a rap song, exemplifying the beauty of his style.
A lot of things I say go over people's head, you know what I'm saying? Because I might mention like a fashion designer you never heard of, so you just like, what is that? You know, I might use prison language, but they never been to prison, so they like, what's that? You know what I'm saying? It's like everything, the grimiest lyrics you could think of, you know what I'm saying? I got the craziest jail bars of anybody, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, but I like to paint those pictures.
Painting pictures of poverty, hustling, and the exclusive luxury lifestyle he's manifested for both old school and new school hip-hop fans to enjoy, which is a fact that many forget when it comes to Gunn, the fact that his prominence in the rap game has skyrocketed well into his 40s, as Gunn holds the integrity of a respected wordsmith by OGs by holding his own on records like Peppers featuring lyrical titans Blackstar, but still has a quirky and witty appeal to younger audiences with his classic one-liners like, "Have you ever cooked half a brick in an air fryer?" off of Michael Irving, and his most commercially successful project, Pray for Paris, inspired by a trip to Virgil's off-white runway at Paris Fashion Week, is filled with countless niche fashion references mixed with coke rap, coining the term coke fashion, and reminiscent of an artist like A$AP Rocky, who's reached significant heights in that realm, showing a lot of promise for Gunn in the future. However, while Gunn's lyrical demeanor is a major factor to contributing to his success as an artist, it's only half of the puzzle, as you can't go in depth into his sound without talking about his stellar production. As it's neo boom bap, Gunn's beat selection is heavily sample driven, and depending on the vibe of the track, they can range from sounding quite soulful to very dark and sinister, with producers such as The Alchemist, Derringer, Conductor Williams, Denny LaFleur, Camouflage Monk, and many more being pivotal to giving us fans those Griselda beats we all know and love. And being a collective, all of these producers are also key in cooking beats for Benny the Butcher and Conway the Machine, in which beats containing vintage instruments and textured mysterious sounding samples can be heard throughout tracks such as 14 Keys and 5 to 50. But with so many rappers all rapping on a particular subgenre of beats, you may think that the sound will become bloated after a while, possibly akin to crunk beats in the 2000s or trap beats from the mid-2010s. However, Gunn's eccentricity has helped keep the beats sounding fresh, still enticing listeners to this day.
I consider myself like a master curator. I'm so picky, I can listen to literally 100 beats and pick 2. Like, my production on my albums is, I consider flawless. Like, I honestly feel like I have the best ear in the entire game.
And his ear for beats is so unique that Gunn is more than confident on taking on the challenge of rapping over instrumentals with no programmed or structured sample drums. As on tracks like Jose Canseco and Whoopee, Gunn effortlessly finds the pocket on beats where the sample is the sole provider of the groove, and that aligns with a core fundamental of Griselda beats, the art of minimalism, which is a far cry from the commercial success of the bass-driven, melodic rage genre which has taken off in the past couple of years. And on top of minimalism, the sound draws upon unique characteristics from previous generations' producers, such as playing drums off the grid, a style brought to fruition by Jay Dilla and reciprocated by a plethora of producers, and can subsequently be heard on tracks such as Rebirth and 327. And thus, Griselda's beats aren't just creative but also deep-rooted in intricate producing techniques pioneered by the greats, in which Gunn still has an affinity to and is constantly seeking.
It's just a different vibe when I'm with Conductor, when I'm with Denny, when I'm with Monk. You know what I'm saying? It's more soulful, more, you know what I mean? It's a different feel, you know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily grimy, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, the original Griselda music was sounding like. This is more like orchestra, more live band, more jazz, just, it's a different feeling.
And out of all the aforementioned producers, Conductor Williams is who stands out the most for me, and I'm not just talking about his wild producer tag. His use of electric piano in particular is enticing, as he has a unique ability to control the mood of a track, whether it be the warm, majestic feel on tracks like Folie à Deux, or the sinister, villainous beat on Revenge of the Flip's Leg, showing that the variety in his catalog is a true testament to his expertise. And the use of bass in his production fits the Griselda vibe perfectly, as it's subtle and complements the vocal samples and drums, as well as giving his beats more texture and a vintage sound. And thus, Griselda's production is truly one of one, and has had an immense cultural impact on hip-hop as a whole with its delicate balance of 90s East Coast boom bap and innovation. And with that being said, let's take a closer look at Westside Gunn's influence on the modern rap scene. Gunn's impact on the rap game can be based off a multitude of factors, but before I get into those, I want to start by mentioning that simply being able to preserve the art of street rap pioneered decades prior is his biggest contribution to the culture, as his innovation and dedication to the craft has safeguarded hip-hop's most radical era. But on top of that, his rise in neo boom bap has contributed to the success of many other rappers in a similar lane to him, as well as his influence being seen in artists from the newer generation, as rappers such as Stovegod Cooks, Boldy James, and Rome Streets all correlate with Griselda's aesthetic, and new gen rappers such as Mike, Marvy, and Jev have carried traces of Gunn's influence scattered throughout their discography. And bringing it back to subject matters that Gunn built his art on, it's clear that the social interactions and conflicts he experienced in East Buffalo were monumental to shaping his identity as a rapper, as he's consistently vocal about his music being a vivid reflection of the chaotic environment in which he grew up in.
You know, me creating this sound, it was totally Eastside Buffalo. I've been with the grimy rhyme since I can remember. I'm just from Eastside Buffalo, man, you know what I'm saying? And like, we doing so good in life now, and I've done so good for me, for my family, for the community, for my city, that people still actually forget that we are two-time fellas. We did go to prison, we was hustling, we was in shootouts, we was in grades, we was in this and that. Like, I really came from that life. Like, this is still me, you know what I'm saying?
and personally prior to Westside Gunn, all I knew about Buffalo was the Source. So his music has definitely been pivotal to my view and understanding of that city, especially to the more impoverished areas in which you wouldn't really hear mentioned at surface level. And vitally, Gunn's notorious for collaborating with artists and producers from the city, such as Conway and Benny, as well as Derringer and Monk, and their legacy will most likely shine light on the emerging talent from Buffalo in the hopeful future. But Gunn's also collaborated with a plethora of artists from the modern rap scene, such as Travis Scott on Lost Forever, and as previously mentioned, lyrical titans Black Star on Peppers, inviting listeners from other niche subgenres in hip-hop to experience the gritty and flamboyant lyrical flavor of the Flygod. And many of you may be aware of Tyler the Creator personally shouting out Gunn for making him want to rap again on his critically acclaimed album Call Me If You Get Lost, and even freestyling to the instrumental of Michael Irving on Sir Baudelaire, the intro track of his project.
But Tyler actually gave me my flowers, you know what I'm saying? At the pinnacle, being arguably one of the albums of the year. Like I said, after the Grammy, he lit right now. Everything going great for him. So for him to even say like, yo, Westside Gunn influenced it, made me want to rap, that's like, I gotta tip my hat off to that, you know what I'm saying? So it's nothing but love, nothing but respect for him.
And before we wrap up, I don't think this video would be complete without talking about Gunn's ad-libs, which are second to none, arguably more iconic than the Migos's or Uzi's, as they're instantly recognizable, sometimes obnoxious, but still legendary enough to earn him a spot on the intro of Jid's highly anticipated God Does Like Ugly, where Gunn was brought in solely to do ad-libs to set the mood for the project, which is quite fitting since both Jid and Gunn don't align themselves with mainstream 2020s rap trends, but still have found major success within their respective styles, reinforcing the album's title that God does indeed like ugly. But anyways, if you've made it up to this point of the vid, then you probably understand that Gunn's here to stay in hip-hop, and his prestigious sound will go down in history for bridging the gap between old heads that miss the stories and authenticity of street rap, and for new gen fans discovering why this sound was so vital in the first place. And going on into the future, hopefully Gunn continues to release groundbreaking art, whether that be in music, fashion, wrestling, etc., as he's so diverse as a creative in 2025 and has so much skin in the game. So it's only right that Griselda's legacy will continue to inspire younger artists to reciprocate their energy and artistry in the near future.